Amid the pomp of BTS's Jin concert in Anaheim, California, one moment stuck out and stopped time. Jungkook emerged from behind the crowd and hugged Jin on stage in a way that was so shocking, almost unexpected by anyone. Jin's frozen reaction, an expression of surprise that couldn't be hidden, and the hug, long, tight, and wordless, instantly ignited the emotions of the ARMY around the world. Is this just a meeting between members? Or is there something deeper and yet to be revealed behind that moment? In just seconds, footage of the hug spread quickly on social media and became the center of conversation. But not only because they are two of the most beloved figures in the global music industry. What makes it so jarring is the emotional context that comes with it. Jin has just returned from his military duty and is holding a big concert as a form of gratitude to the ARMY. The presence of Jungkook, who was not previously scheduled to perform, came as an absolute surprise.
No announcements.
There is no teaser.
No clue.
Just a hug, but the impact was like an earthquake. Silent yet devastating. The hug is not just a symbol of the meeting. It represents a whole spectrum of emotions that cannot be explained through verbal language loss, exhaustion, gratitude, and brotherly love. Jungkook is seen hugging Jin as if holding back something he has long wanted to express. Jin, on the other hand, seemed powerless to hold back his tears, even though he tried to hold back in front of the thousands of pairs of eyes that highlighted him. What exactly happened? Why is this moment even more attention-grabbing than the other spectacular performances of the night? Some speculation arose. Many believe the hug was part of something bigger, possibly a private conversation between Jin and Jungkook before the concert, or perhaps a hint that their personal relationship was experiencing a much deeper dynamic than has been known to the public. Not a few also attributed it to the internal pressure they faced as the oldest and youngest members of BTS, the two ends of which have been shouldering a huge burden in maintaining team cohesion. But the most touching was the ARMY's response. The timeline is full of virtual tears, emotional testimonials, and confessions from fans who claim to be emotionally devastated after witnessing the moment. Some fans even called the hug a reminder of how human they are. Behind the spotlight and celebrity status, they remain two young men who support each other in silence, who may have missed each other deeply for the past 2 years. The camera captured the moments Jin placed his hand slowly on Jungkook's back, returning the hug without a word. Jungkook seemed to pat Jin on the shoulder, then said something that didn't sound clear on the microphone. Some fans claimed to hear the phrase, "Young, I'm proud of you," but there was no official confirmation from management. Whatever he says, the ARMY knows that's not what matters. What matters is the emotional energy that surrounds the stage at that moment. One of the aspects that amplified the impact of this moment was the striking contrast between the cheerful atmosphere of the concert and the laughter of the audience, with the sudden calm that enveloped the room when the embrace took place. As if the world stopped for a moment. The stage, which is usually the venue for performances, turns into a reflection room. Many spectators at the location were seen wiping away tears. Even the dancers who were around the stage seemed to stop their movements, making room for such a sacred moment. This event reopened the discussion about the emotional bond between BTS members that has been their hidden strength. Jin and Jungkook, despite their different ages and characters, have shown that the relationship between them is not just professional. It is a brotherhood built on trust, respect, and a long history together. Both have gone through a period of debuts, international pressure, until a temporary separation due to conscription. And that night, all that history crystallized in one embrace. ARMY, who had been accustomed to seeing Jin as humorous and cheerful, was surprised by his rarely exposed emotional side. Jungkook, who is often considered the strong and stable golden magne, also shows a soft side that touches many hearts. The moment reminded the public that idols are not entertainment machines, but people who feel loss, longing, and sincerity. In an era of the music industry that is often loaded with gimmicks, moments like this actually feel the most real. Unplanned, unannounced, and commercialized. That's what makes it authentic. It was also authenticity that made ARMY cry, not because it was sad, but because it was touched by sincerity that is rarely found on such a large stage. Now, many are wondering, will this moment be a turning point for the relationship between BTS members who are separated due to individual schedules? Will we see more personal interactions like this in the near future? And furthermore, how did HYB's internal reaction to the public's highly emotional response to something unplanned? Despite all the speculation, one thing became clear: the hug wasn't just about Jin and Jungkook. It's about BTS as a family. It was about ARMY as a global community emotionally connected to the artists they love. And it's about a reminder that in a world full of pressure and expectations, a simple expression of affection can change everything. If you are one of the ARMY who witnessed that moment, ask yourself again, why was the hug so memorable? What makes it so real and touching? Pushpin for those of you who want to keep abreast of important moments from Jin and Jungkook. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We will continue to provide emotional, exclusive, and in-depth coverage of BTS and their backstage world. Because behind every camera spotlight, there is a story that has not yet been revealed. And we're here to reveal it with you. Shortly after the hug, the atmosphere of the concert changed. The cheers turned into slow applause and restrained sobs. The audience, which was initially dissolved in the euphoria of upbeat songs, was suddenly dragged into a deeper and reflective atmosphere. For those present in person at the venue, the moment felt sacred, not just entertainment, but a rare emotional acknowledgement in an industry that often silences feelings for the sake of image. The stage crew seemed to hold back their activities for a few seconds. The dancers are silent. The previously dynamic spotlights turned into static, focusing on two figures standing in the center of the stage, hugging each other in silence. No music, no words, just meaningful silence. Some fans in the front row looked down, wiping away tears, while others stood still silently. After the hug, Jin seemed to take a deep breath. He looked at Jungkook with a meaningful smile, then held the microphone and said briefly, "I didn't know you were coming." "Thank you, Jungkook." The sentence is not dramatic, but it contains layers of deep meaning, implying that Jungkook's visit was an unplanned surprise, or at least not told in advance. Jungkook simply replied with a nod and a smile, then retreated a few steps to the side of the stage, letting Jin continue with his concert. But for the ARMY, that moment was enough. Even more than enough. The moment became the emotional culmination of a whole series of concerts that have taken place spectacularly. Many called it the spiritual highlight of the evening's concert, not because of the visual effects, not because of the staging, but because of the unfiltered emotional frankness. Footage of the moment has now been widely circulated on social media and video channels. Some international fan bases have even translated Jin's words and analyzed their body language in detail. It shows how deep the connection is between idols and their fans, that a single hug can be the subject of a global discussion that stirs emotion and speculation at the same time. Interestingly, the moment also drew reactions from various media circles and observers of South Korean pop culture. Many consider that Jin and Jungkook's embrace not only signifies a personal relationship, but also contains a symbolic dimension. Jin, as the oldest member who just returned, received a hug from Magne, who has been called the successor of BTS's strength. There is a symbolization of transition, respect, as well as recognition that their bond remains intact, despite being separated by time and distance. However, not all parties assess this as purely emotional. Some skeptics speculate that this embrace could have been designed as part of a promotional maneuver or strategy to generate global media attention. But even such speculation is not able to shake the real emotional impact felt by millions of fans. Because in the end, the facts in front of the eyes are stronger than conjectures. And the fact is clearly recorded. Jin hugged Jungkook. Jungkook hugged Jin. In front of the world. In the middle of a stressful concert. With an unadulterated sincerity, the response from the ARMY is also interesting to observe. Many fans wrote that they felt valued and involved emotionally. In a viral fan thread, one fan wrote, "We don't just watch concerts. We watched as two brothers who had been separated for a long time finally met each other again and shared intimate moments before our eyes. That's priceless." It's comments like these that prove that hugs go far beyond mere entertainment. A number of international fans also started symbolic hashtag campaigns on Platform X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok with various touching quotes from the moment, although in this article we do not include them directly. What is clear is that the moment became a collective phenomenon that brought together armies from different countries, languages, and backgrounds. Emotions are a universal language, and that night, Jin and Jungkook speak the language perfectly. Now many are looking forward to whether this moment will continue with other exclusive content, such as documentaries or behind-the-scenes releases from HYB. The public is also looking forward to whether Jin and Jungkook will talk about the moment explicitly in future interviews or live broadcasts. If yes, then this hug will be more than just a symbol. It will be part of the grand narrative of BTS's return to the world stage after a transitional phase of military and individual activity. For ARMY, it's not just about two figures on stage. It is about the hope that the values of brotherhood, sincerity, and emotional connection are kept alive amid an entertainment industry that often prioritizes image over content. This Jin and Jungkook moment has proven that there is still room for emotional honesty and that idols like them are capable of touching millions of hearts with just a HUG in closing. This moment should not only be remembered as a stage surprise, but also as a reminder that the connection between BTS and ARMY is built not just from songs and choreography, but from honesty and emotions that cannot be faked. Loudspeaker for those of you who want to keep abreast of the latest news, emotional moments, and hidden facts from Jin, Jungkook, and other BTS members. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out on exclusive coverage, in-depth analysis, and details you might not find anywhere else, because this story is not finished. And you, as part of the ARMY, have the right to watch its continuation closer, more truthful, and more real. Jin and Jungkook's emotional embrace on the Anaheim stage is now the most talked about fragment in the K-pop universe post Jin's return from his mandatory military service. But behind the sea of tears, the harrowing timeline, and the visceral narrative of brotherhood comes one big question we should all ask together. Is the event truly authentic? Or is it simply a narrative constructed to spark public empathy and strengthen the bonds of fan loyalty? The moment was so neat. Too neat, maybe. Jungkook showed up unannounced. Jin looked surprised. The hug lasted a long time. The camera captured him in the best angle, and the audience was in unison glued in silence. Then came short videos, fanbase edits, emotional narratives from big accounts, and slowly, the digital atmosphere became one voice. This is the most honest moment of BTS in a long time. But is it really so? Or is it a form of emotional orchestration that has been designed to look spontaneous? Not a few media observers question the timing of Jungkook's appearance, who happened to be present at Jin's concert, with maximum effect in spreading it on social media. Many argue that if this moment is so spontaneous, why have cameras on standby to capture it from so many angles? Isn't this kind of scenario which looks very personal but is recorded very professionally, has been part of the visual communication strategy in the entertainment industry for years. This critical question needs to be asked. Are we witnessing a pure reality, or a reality already polished and packaged? It wasn't meant to denigrate the intimacy of Jin and Jungkook's relationship. What is questioned is not their emotions, but the way they are presented to the public. When we talk about the K-pop industry, we're talking about a system that has proven to be good at creating highly emotional, evocative, and viral narratives. So, as this hug becomes a symbol that tears the hearts of millions of soldiers, we need to ask, is this part of public anger management? Proof? Nothing explicit. However, the scattered information comes from media that are not uniformly credible: TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Twitter, X, and posts from anonymous fan bases. Videos with dramatic captions such as "Army crying after seeing this" or "A hug that will be unforgettable for a lifetime" quickly became public consumption without verification. Then the mainstream media took over the narrative, quoting from the viral platform as if it had been validated. Did I end this context? Are we really witnesses of something authentic? Or are we being directed to feel it in a certain way? Are the cries that appear at concerts and the emotional responses on social media a pure reflection of feelings, or a reaction to a strategically curated visual narrative? This reflection is important, especially since South Korea's entertainment industry has long been criticized for their intensive approach to shaping artists, images, framing emotions, and managing public expectations. We all know that emotions are a commodity in the modern entertainment world. So, if the hug managed to create a huge effect in generating emotional trust, doesn't it make sense that there are parties who really want to make the moment a covert marketing tool? We do not give absolute conclusions, but we would like to invite readers, especially our respected army, not to lose their critical power. You have the right to be touched, moved, even cried. But you also have a responsibility as a consumer of information to ask, is what I see true? Who is spreading? What's his motive? Why release now? As journalists who observe this phenomenon, we remind that the information we convey is compiled from various open sources, such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, international fanbase, and some entertainment media reports. But until now, there has been no official clarification from HYB or BTS regarding the actual context of the moment. Thus, all interpretations are still speculative, even if they are based on massive visual observations. This criticality is important not only to avoid being eaten by hoaxes, but also so that the ARMY, as a global fan community, is not trapped in sheer euphoria. Do not let sincere feelings be used as a tool by parties who use emotions for commercial purposes. Is it possible that ARMY's cries are the result of narrative planning rather than sheer emotional honesty? This is where we need to reflect again on our role in spreading and affirming this kind of narrative. Every post, every retweet, every viral reaction video, all reinforces one point of view. Are we still able to stand as independent observers, or are we already trapped in a curated algorithm of emotion? Let's remember that love for BTS doesn't have to blind our logic. We can love them without losing the ability to think critically. We can be touched by the moment of the hug while still asking, is this real? Or is it part of a larger story that has been designed for us to feel that way? Finally, we invite all of you, the audience and readers, to join us in voicing your opinions. Do you think Jin and Jungkook's embrace was a spontaneous moment of honesty? Or do you see it as a well-laid-out scenario to strengthen emotional ties with the public? Please leave a comment, send us your opinion, or discuss it in your community. Because in the era of the flood of information as it is now, silence is a disadvantage and critical thinking is the only protector from manipulation. And don't forget, subscribe to keep abreast of exclusive reports and insightful analysis around the world of K-pop, especially BTS. In the midst of abundant information, We are committed to presenting news with integrity and care.